So today we'll be learning how to make this dish. It's called chicken croquette. This is my mom's original recipe from Spain. This is pretty easy to make. You'll be able to see that during the video. You can modify the ingredients to your liking. It's kind of like a finger food. You can eat it at any time during the day. But believe me, once you try it, you'll get hooked. Now let's go see. So the ingredients you want to use to make this chicken croquette is going to be around 1 or 2 pounds of chicken. You'll also need breadcrumbs, regular flour, eggs, a cup of milk, but that can change during the process, pepper, salt, and nutmeg. Remember, these ingredients you can do at your liking. So now let's continue. So the first step in making the chicken croquette is that you want to cut the chicken in pieces. I prefer this size that you see here. You can do it smaller. I don't recommend cutting pieces larger than the ones I'm cutting because already the croquettes that I'm making are pretty big. So that's what you want to do now is just cut all your pieces, put them aside. As you can see, I cut out any fat that I see. That's something of my liking. Remember, you can always modify. By now, you probably noticed that I'm just cutting and cutting and cutting chicken. I wanted to be specific on how much I used for this specific tutorial. I used 2 pounds of chicken breasts. This is something that you can modify. You can use more chicken or less chicken, as well as the shape that you're going to be using to make them. You want to consider that it looks like a lot of meat, but it really isn't when it comes to making the shape of the croquette. So just remember that throughout the video as well. So I just wanted to show everybody how much 2 pounds of chicken breast looks like after you cut it. So it may seem like it's not a lot. Just remember that. So now, as you can see, I have a pot with water and I put a little bit of olive oil. And what we're going to do is we're going to boil the chicken. Some people do not boil the chicken. They just cook it like a stir fry. But I prefer to boil it because it's easier to manage for the next step. Usually I boil it, I would say, for 20 to 25 minutes until it's fully cooked. Now that we've boiled the chicken, we're going to season it with a little bit of salt. Remember, this is going to be to your liking. I'm going to use regular salt. Also, a little bit of pepper. And I am also going to be seasoning with nutmeg. I'm going to be only doing a half a teaspoon of nutmeg. But this you can adjust, like I said previously, to your liking. Now you want to go ahead and mix everything together. And once you feel it's all mixed, you want to take back to the stove. Now, while on medium heat, I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil. That way I can stir fry just a little all the seasoning and the chicken together. You want to make sure that the olive oil does cover all the chicken. Now I'm going to go get the milk. I'm going to start off with a cup, but remember, this is probably going to be modified. So now we're going to pour in the first cup of milk. As you can see, when I finish pouring it, it doesn't cover the chicken. So I'm going to pour a little bit more of milk. You want to make sure that there's enough milk just to slightly cover almost all the chicken. After you pour in the milk, you want to stir everything together, making sure that the olive oil, the milk, and the chicken come together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour the flour. I'm going to use a spoon in order to do that. That way I can take control over the consistency that we need for the paste. When you're pouring the flour, you want to make sure that you don't pour a lot of it. As you can see here, it was only 2 tablespoons of flour. And then you want to start mixing everything together. Remember, the stove is on a medium high, so the flour is going to start getting consistency pretty quickly, as you can see here. The consistency, you don't want it to be too thick, but it cannot be thin either, because then we're going to start rolling or making the shape. So you want to make sure it has the perfect consistency. Another thing that I do, as you can see here, is I try to break a little bit the chicken in smaller pieces. And once you have everything together, as you can see here, with the consistency pretty close to what I have, you want to transfer this to a plate and let it cool off for probably 20-25 minutes. Here, I just wanted you to be able to see how I transfer it to a plate. Now I'm just going to let it cool down for around 20 to 25 minutes. So now what we want to do is, after it's cooled down, we want to take a spoonful. You can do less or you can do more. of the mix, and you want to pat it all together. I do an oval shape. Then I dip it in egg. I make sure that it's completely covered. That way, when I take it over to the breadcrumbs, it sticks easier. With the breadcrumbs, you want to do the same thing. You want to make sure that it's completely covered. You want to have your frying pan ready for the croquette. I usually put it in a medium heat. When I'm frying the croquette, I do turn it consistently because it fries pretty quick. I would say around 2 to 3 minutes to fry it. So now we're going to make the second croquette. Same process. You want to make an oval shape. After that, you want to dip it in the egg. Make sure it's completely covered. And then in the breadcrumbs. As you can see here, it hasn't been a minute from doing this croquette. And once I put this one inside the frying pan, we're going to turn over the one that's already there. And sorry for the mess, but remember, it's so good, you're not even gonna mind this mess. So see, it's already golden. So that was probably a minute and a half. So you want to make sure that you turn them pretty quickly. So here we have the croquettes completed. I'm gonna have mine with some coffee. Yes, I am a coffee lover. Actually, it made 11 for me, but my daughter and me couldn't resist, so we started eating. As you can see, it's completely full of chicken. Remember, this is something that you can modify as you wish. I hope you guys like it. Shout out to my mom for her great recipe. If you did try it out, let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching.